Hello and welcome to another episode of the Contractor Grow Show. My name is Mark Lamberth. I'm your host. Today I'm speaking with Stephen Morales at Cleanest Painting in Rahway, New Jersey. Stephen, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you for having me. It's a pleasure, and I commend you for creating a space for the home improvement industry and showing a way to others to learn and to grab some great insights. So thank you for having me. I'd love to be a
You're
part.
welcome. Yeah, Stephen, I appreciate the acknowledgement. Great. So I would love to hear, you've got some interesting projects that you're up to, and we'll unpack those some. I'd love to start by just hearing what services you provide, Cleanest Painting provides for your customers in Rahway.
Yes. So Cleanest Painting, we've been in the home improvement industry for going on 6 years. What we provide is services in our obviously painting. We do interior, exterior painting, drywall, wallpaper, and other improvement services. For example, we have subcontractors that we work with that help us with renovations. So we've actually done basement renovations and kind of getting a little bit more into the renovation aspect of things as well.
Okay, interesting. And how many folks do you have on your team right now?
So as of right now, we work with 2 to 3 subcontractor teams, and we've been with these teams for, I would say, 75% of the time that we were established. We initially had our own team members, but the subcontractor route was what worked best for us.
Gotcha. Fantastic. And I'm just curious, how did you make the decision to go with subs versus kind of folks, W-2 employees on a team? I've heard different reports about this, talked to some contractors that actually grew to having a large team and then actually went back to having a subcontractor team, that even though, those subs, tend to be cost more essentially, that without having the management headaches and without all of the problems with, assembling a team, that it ultimately is kind of more profitable and better for a builder to work specifically with subs. How have you kind of navigated that, and how have you chosen to just work with subs at this point?
So what led us to making that transition was exactly like you said, which was the management aspect of things. I felt like I had more flexibility, and also it was convenient for me because the subcontracting teams that we work with are very well organized and had that experience. And when it came to, for example, equipment and transportation, they had resources that, I still had to build from the ground up. And so that kind of gave us that advantage, and also just building good relationships with these teams. And also we noticed how each team had their strengths, and we were able to connect those strengths with the different projects that we were doing. And that's kind of what basically led us to sticking with these teams, and it just helped us out overall. And like I mentioned earlier, the flexibility that it brought us, because these were teams that had their own people. I didn't have to worry about someone calling out. And I'm big on just being able to work on the things that help us grow while delegating the aspect of getting the job done right. And those were things that I saw that these teams really implemented and took very serious. And so that's what mainly led me to sticking with the subcontractors. And it's worked out very well for us.
Oh, fantastic. I noticed that you guys have got a ton of positive reviews. For companies been around 5-6 years, it seems like you guys have really put some intention into this. We talked to companies that have been in business for 15-20 years. They've got half as many reviews as you guys, talking specifically about like 5-star reviews on Google that you guys have. How have you approached kind of customer service such that folks are so willing to reach out and give you guys just a really glowing review of your service?
Really, it's been a bit back to what I mentioned about having that flexibility of working with subcontractors, and not saying that you can't have that flexibility when you have your own employees, but consistency and having systems in place to follow up with our clients. And so I'm very big on systems, and that's actually what led to the creation of Cleanest Painting. It was Cleanest Painting was actually made with a very specific intention. It was to get a better understanding of the home improvement industry, so we can fully understand what a one-man shop or a small crew actually goes through. And by doing that, we understood that relationships are key. And so we need to retain these relationships, and we also need to create transparency for this to keep moving forward. And reviews are the best way to show transparency and be viewed by other potential clients. So we made that an integral part to make sure that we have a system in place that follows up with the clients and actually gives us consistent reviews after each project that we complete with clients.
Oh man, I love it. Fantastic. And we talked about, Steven, so you've got another interesting project happening, really interesting. And I'm just fascinated by, we've talked a few times now here before the show, and I'm fascinated by this path of like, we're going to start a cleaning company or painting company rather, to really learn the industry, learn what the pain points are. And then we have kind of a whole other strategy of something that we're tackling as well. Maybe you could tell us about the other project that you have going on that this is all kind of leading towards.
Sure thing. So, like I said, we started Cleanest Painting with a very specific intention, which was to understand the ins and outs. And the one thing that we started learning from Cleanest Painting is that we really didn't have a problem with sales. It was more of a issue with building systems and having structure, because when we started Cleanest Painting, it was with the objective of being able to help other home improvement contractors. And what better way to do that than actually, getting your feet wet and getting a full understanding of dealing with clients, trying to stay organized and running the business, with a one-man shop. And so by starting Cleanest Painting, it gave us all of that information and context that led us to RCG. And RCG, Rodas Consulting Group, is the systems, and Cleanest Painting as the proof of those systems actually working. And one of those metrics that shows that it's effective is, like you said, the reviews that we actually have in place.
Amazing. So Rodas Consulting Group is, essentially a piece of software that you're developing to help builders manage projects, to manage workflow. Is that right? How does that work, and what is that software you're building?
Yeah, so the software that we're building was built to tackle those issues. Like I said, when you have a one-man shop or a small crew and you're trying to grow, we noticed the pattern, and that pattern was, like I said, the structures and the organization. Because when you're a one-man shop, you're dealing with clients, you're dealing with creating quotes, you're dealing with having projects done right, you're dealing with the subcontractors or your team members. And so a lot of the things that we were doing, we noticed that we had to actually put all of these processes in place in a system where it's out of our head, because many other contractors were actually asking us like, hey, what are you guys doing that's so different from us? Because we see that, you have consistent work and we love working with you, especially our subcontractors. And so RCG, what it focused on was just making sure that we understood everything that we were going through in Cleanest Painting and how we can make systems out of it. So that way it can make us more efficient.
Oh man, that's fantastic. Great. So if I know this is still in development and you're working on this, and this will be available, it sounds like soon. So if a one-man contractor, and we have, one-man operations here on the show a lot, and there's certainly, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of small local contractors, home improvement contractors. And so if I'm a home improvement contractor in Denver and I hear this episode, and, it's a couple of months from now, everything's live, and I'm thinking, man, I'd love to have some software to kind of manage these projects. I've got leads coming in. I've got, quotes at some level of in place. I've got a crew that kind of needs to be managed. There's various options out there already. There's some other, similar-ish tools. If I go and work with Rodas Consulting Group, with your software, how will that benefit me as a contractor? How will that make my day-to-day life easier?
That is the main reason why we created RCG, is to make your life easier. And the way that I've been able to implement that for myself prior to actually going live with everyone else is why we started the company from the ground up, to really gather all of that information and really get that understanding of what we go through on a day-to-day basis. And I feel like that experience that I gained throughout the 6 years that I've been running the business, I built it with the intention of something that I wish I would have had in place when I first started from the ground up. And
Mhm.
that's what led us to having repetitive business. And like I mentioned earlier, one of the things that I noticed was that many people in the home improvement industry actually don't have a problem with skills or doing good work or sometimes even sales. What really made the difference for us and actually showed us that we were being successful was the structure, because that structure is what actually led to us being able to manage those incoming referrals, those sales, the quotes. Everything was a bit just more organized instead of chaotic. And so I understood how chaotic, I understand how chaotic it can feel. And I feel like that context and that insight is what led us to create and polish the RCG platform for home improvement contractors in a very specific way, because we understand. What I was saying is that this is a platform that was built by someone that actually has been in the field, and we are still in the field, and we are keeping Cleanest Painting, because Cleanest Painting is what gives us that insight and keeps us in the game and helps us relate to other home improvement contractors. So I think that just relating to other home improvement contractors that have experienced the same thing, I feel like that's what separates us and really brings value.
Oh man, that's fantastic. What a cool story. Well, great, Stephen. What is your service area for Cleanest Painting? How far will you guys go around Rahway?
So we go about 30-mile radius. I'm in
Okay.
New Jersey. I'm in Central Jersey, but like I usually say, I won't go down to like Atlantic City. It's pretty far from us. But New Jersey is actually a decent sized state. But usually I keep it within a 30-mile radius. And at times, of course, we get referrals from previous clients that refer us to family members, and sometimes we make accommodations. But I try to keep it within that 30-mile radius, because I feel like it's important to establish a community presence within your home. And we will be growing and going further out, but as of right now, I just focus mainly like on a 30-mile radius, unless we're referred by a client.
Gotcha. Okay. Fantastic. Well, great, Stephen. If folks are in the New Jersey area or kind of around Rahway, New Jersey, and looking for a great painting contractor to work with, what are the best ways to get in touch with you guys?
So we have a variety of ways of communication. You can find us on Instagram or Facebook, and of course on Google as well. And we also have our own website. Our website is cleanestpaintingnj.com, or you can find us on Google as well, where we have our Google business profile under Cleanest Painting LLC. And on Instagram or Facebook, you can find us under cleanestpaintingnj.com.
Fantastic. And if folks are interested in this software helping contractors run jobs, what are the best ways to find that?
Sure thing. You can email me. If you're a home improvement contractor, you can email me through our home at cleanestpaintingnj.com email, or you can find us on our website, rodascgroup.com. So that's RODASC group.com. And there you can just fill out a form. We'll get your information, and then we'll follow up with you.
Fantastic. Great, Stephen. I love the story. I love what you guys are up to. I would love to follow up here in a few months and see how things are launching with Rodas. Thank you so much for being on the show today and sharing your wisdom and the experience of starting a company so far.
Thank you for having me.